The Interstellar Academy's largest lecture hall buzzed with voices as cadets from every corner of the galaxy took their seats, curious about the day's lesson. Among them sat Daniel Reeves, a quiet human who rarely spoke unless necessary. The instructor, a tall, silver-skinned alien with eyes like polished glass, stepped forward and tapped the console. The lights dimmed, and a massive hologram appeared, a swirling blue-green planet wrapped in clouds, yet radiating an almost predatory beauty. "Today," the instructor began, voice echoing, "we will study the most dangerous world ever recorded, a place where life itself is a gamble." The cadets leaned forward as images flashed, storms tearing apart coastlines, forests hiding creatures with eyes like knives, deserts so dry even shadows seemed to vanish. Daniel's gaze stayed fixed on the display, his expression unreadable. The planet's name slowly appeared in bold letters across the hologram: Earth. A hush fell over the hall, and murmurs rippled through the alien students. Some tilted their heads in disbelief, others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. None of them noticed the faint curl of a smile at the corner of Daniel's mouth. They thought they were about to learn about a mystery world. Daniel knew they were about to learn about his. The instructor's tone grew heavier as the hologram shifted, showing violent lightning storms slashing across black skies and waves rising higher than city towers. "On this planet," he said, "death is not rare, it is constant. The air can freeze your blood in one region and burn your skin in another. The seas are filled with predators that can sense a heartbeat from miles away. Even the smallest plants can poison or strangle an unprepared traveler." Murmurs of shock rippled among the alien cadets. Some shook their heads in disbelief, while others scribbled nervous notes. The instructor continued, describing earthquakes that swallow entire towns, hurricanes that can strip the land bare, and volcanic eruptions that darken the sky for months. He claimed no known civilization could ever rise here, that any intelligent life placed on such a hostile world would quickly vanish. Daniel sat quietly, hands folded, but inside he felt a deep, almost secret amusement. Every word was true, yet the picture they painted was incomplete. He remembered children playing in the snow, families fishing in rough seas, and people laughing under skies others would fear. They saw a cursed world. He saw the place that had shaped him. They had no idea. Some cadets began to raise their hands, their voices carrying traces of disbelief. "If this world is so deadly," one asked, "how could any creature survive for more than a few days?" Another suggested perhaps no life existed there at all, only chaos and storms. The instructor simply shrugged, insisting that if anything ever tried to live there, it would be crushed by the planet's merciless nature. Daniel listened, his eyes distant, as memories stirred in his mind, running through icy winds as a boy, diving into churning waves without fear, hearing the rumble of thunder like an old friend's voice. What they described as impossible survival was, for him, everyday life. He glanced around the hall, noting the way some cadets looked pale at just the thought of such dangers. These were beings raised on worlds where nature rarely fought back, where comfort was the rule, not the exception. Daniel realized they couldn't imagine the kind of will such a place could forge. He stayed silent, not ready to reveal the truth. Let them think Earth was a nightmare no one could endure. The truth, when it came, would be far more powerful than any answer he could give now. The instructor's voice took on a sharper edge as he announced the next phase of the lesson, a full survival simulation of the deadly planet they had just studied. Gasps and uneasy whispers spread through the lecture hall. "You will be placed," he said, "into a holographic recreation of this world for 7 days. Your goal, survive." At once, the alien cadets began exchanging worried glances. Some already looked defeated, imagining themselves battling storms and predators they had only just learned about. Daniel kept his expression neutral, though inside he felt something else entirely, a quiet thrill. When the simulation began, the world around them came alive with roaring winds, icy rain, and the distant howl of unseen creatures. The aliens struggled immediately. One slipped on wet rocks. Another panicked at the sound of thunder. Daniel moved with calm precision, gathering branches, shaping a shelter, and starting a fire as if he'd done it 1,000 times before because he had. While the others huddled in fear, he hunted small game, purified water from a stream, and set traps around camp. By the second day, exhaustion and fear had driven many to quit, their confidence shattered. Daniel remained, moving through the simulated wilderness with the quiet certainty of someone who had already lived it. Whispers spread among the cadets, who were still watching from outside the simulation. The human wasn't just surviving, he was comfortable. The question began to form in their minds like a growing shadow. How could anyone know this world so well? Daniel didn't answer. Not yet. The truth would be far more unsettling than they could imagine, and he was in no rush to give it away. On the seventh day, the simulation ended with a blinding flash, and the storm-filled skies dissolved into the clean white walls of the Academy's holodeck. One by one, the surviving cadets reappeared, shivering, exhausted, and visibly shaken. Most had not even lasted halfway through the challenge, their minds still trapped in the memory of endless danger. Daniel, however, stood calm and steady, his clothing torn from hard use, but his eyes clear and alert. He looked like someone returning from a long walk rather than a week of surviving the galaxy's most deadly world. The instructor stepped forward, his polished glass eyes narrowing in curiosity. "Cadet Reeves," he said slowly, "while others barely endured a day, you showed remarkable skill. Explain yourself. How did you do it?" Every alien in the room leaned closer, waiting for his answer. Daniel hesitated for a moment, glancing around at their expectant faces. Then, with a faint, almost amused smile, he spoke. "Because you weren't testing me on an unknown planet," he said quietly. "You were testing me on my home." Silence crashed over the hall like a wave. Some cadets blinked in confusion, others froze in shock. The instructor tilted his head, the realization dawning in his expression. Daniel continued, his voice even but edged with quiet pride. "I was born there. My people live there. We've learned efficiencies you call impossible, to walk in deserts you think lifeless, to farm soil torn by storms, and to build cities in places where no other species would dare stay at night. You say no civilization could survive? We thrived." A murmur spread among the crowd, awe, disbelief, and something else, unease. They had studied Earth as if it were a death sentence. Now they saw a living example of what it had created. The instructor said nothing, only watching Daniel with a strange respect in his eyes. Around the hall, alien cadets began to realize the true meaning of what they had just witnessed. Humanity wasn't strong in spite of Earth. Humanity was strong because of it. And somewhere deep inside, they all felt the same cold truth settle in their hearts. If this was what Earth made of its children, then perhaps the galaxy had been underestimating humans for far too long.